Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Vermont House Committee on Commerce and Economic Development. It is Friday, February 28th, 2025 at 1:04 in the afternoon. So we're here for a short meeting just to have committee discussion on CTE. I think before we do that, I just want to thank the committee again on 342. It was a lot of work. Appreciate everybody being able to come together. And of course, it's not over. It's in the Senate. Maybe more things that we can do with it. So we'll see. But again, thank you all. We heard a lot of testimony on CTE. We've heard from CTE directors from all different governance types. We've heard from AOE, Department of Labor, a couple of times. I think I just want to open it up for committee discussion to get a feel for, your thoughts on, we had the single governance, some that are advocating for regional or district governance within the districts. And it's, hear one and I think, well, maybe they're right. And I hear another one, well, maybe they're right. So just open it up to committee discussion. The plan is that get done by 1:30 on this discussion, and Edie and I will be gone for a bit, and then we'll come back and we can just sit around and chit chat. Or you can go home at 1:30.
Are we coming back? You were kidding. Okay. So
Yes.
I'll take that. Thank you.
So, thoughts?
I can get the ball rolling. I heard clearly there's a need for a statewide set of standards that govern degree diploma qualifications and things like that.
Graduation requirements.
Exactly. So there is a need for the highest level, I think, of governance for that. I also heard from BTS, several other folks, that there is an absolute need for local autonomy in programs where they can deal with the local folks that they need to, that are the resources that make good things go, whether it's, the work employment situations and things like that. That tells me that we need, I'm still basically in favor of the AOE setting the graduation requirements and standards and getting everybody to toe the line on that. But the greatest degree of local autonomy we can give to those center supervisors to manage the day in and day out stuff and nurture their programs at the local level where we want them to be embedded and not just, a separate thing. That's my nickel's worth just for a big picture view, so to speak.
I guess on the section, I'm kind of on the fence on it. One way I feel like it's very difficult to gauge this because we don't know what we're looking at. And now I'm understanding it probably won't be until 2026 that we see how the districts are going to lay out. I think in my ideal world, it makes sense to me. And I was actually, I had a constituent, we had a little meeting a couple of weeks ago, and they expressed a lot of concern about that sense of belonging in place and how some of the governance structures for these CTEs, they're basically, they get a see you later email and then they're out and they don't get to graduate with their peers and all that kind of stuff. And that's really impactful on some of these young kids. So that kind of bothers me using the whole single district. The other problem I see with the single district is it's only unless we can this whole thing about making sure we have standards for graduation requirements and things like that. If that's not there beforehand, having a single district is only going to make this even more complicated. Whereas I feel like if they're all in a, if they're all sort of their own self-contained district, whereas the CTE would be an extension. You know, I love the idea of, well, you go to high school and then you can, you know, well, if you want to go the college prep path, you can do this. If you want to go the, you know, learn a trade path, you can do this and stay in the same school. It's just a matter of what classroom you wind up going to me, that seems for the most benefit of the students and eliminates a lot of those problems. The one advantage I do see with having a single district is I think, and it's not something we're talking about much now, but looking 5, 10 years down the road, that is a much better model for adult education. Having, yeah, because then they're their own self-contained. Because of that, now we might be able to come up with some funding models to help adults as well. And there's not that issue. You know, once again, we look at the social optics of it. I mean, I'm in my 50s, and is it really cool for me to be attending a CTE with a bunch of 16, 17-year-old, you know, kids? That's my 2 cents.
Forever young.
So I've been trying to think of this, look at it from the perspective of like, is there almost like a statement isn't the right word, but like sort of a standard that we want for every high school kid in the state? And it seems like the ideal situation is every high school student in the state has access to both a half-day program or a full-day program and a wide range of options from automotive technology to healthcare, like the healthcare programs, which tend to be more kids who are, I think, going into healthcare fields, going on to college. So if we think of it from those terms, like what is the how do we get there? And then I also was really influenced by Jay Ramsey's chart, where it showed the sort of the system level, starting with like some of the big picture workforce development goals, and then going down. I mean, so it seems to me you could get either of these things. There's some baseline things you need. You need common graduation requirements. You need a common calendar. You know, you need elements of a statewide system. But then ultimately, the governance model could be that statewide system, or it could be regions, that each region includes all the levels of the schools as well as the tech center.
Yeah.
But the question then becomes like, how big what are the regions? And so the regions I don't know, I kind of feel like it could go either direction, but at its core, we want to look at how do we create a system so it's aligned, you know, that whole system is aligned with priorities, and every high school student has that access, right? Which right now I would say they don't.
Right.
Yeah. I think the issue is access. And the statistics around how many kids are actually able to avail themselves of a technical education is, you know, pretty shocking. And so I went over the testimony and trying to figure out, so what were the problems that were leading to that? And I remember hearing a bunch of different things. The tuition issue, you know, funding seemed to be, and I've lived this in terms of talking to my board and everything, school board, you know, just a lot of tension around that whole idea of, you know, why do we have to spend all that money and send it to, you know, we should have that here, that kind of thing. So I'm hoping that whatever tax, you know, ways and means come up to us will be helpful for the CTE kind of sense of things too. But other alignment issues, you know, alignment of budget, you know, I think would be really important. Alignment of a lot of the different things around calendars, grad requirements and stuff. And alignment around the student, right? It's always kind of bugged me that there's this kind of segregation between if you're going into tech ed, you know, you're one kind of kid, and if you're in high school, you're another kind of kid, which was why it was pretty attractive. The picture came in and was talking about regional things. and as a potential solution for a lot of those issues. I really like the way you framed it earlier this week, last week, I can't. But in terms of looking at the pros and cons of the statewide model and sort of regional model, I haven't done my homework on that. But I would, I'm going to try to do that a little bit more, trying to sort out. So, regional, what are the pros? What are the cons?
We'll get that from AOE
Yeah,
at some point.
yeah, yes, yeah, yeah. So that's kind of where I'm coming from.
Was thinking that with respect to, say, the H34 and knowing that we're really looking at aligning, having labor and executive office and, sort of having workforce with having eyes on all aspects of the workforce system. I think Vermont's, I feel like the state's ready for a single district around CTE. That this seems like a good time for that centralization of administration. But what I think the model could be created that has the local inputs that are necessary for understanding how, like how in Bennington and in Brattleboro, we're at a distance, say, from Stafford, Rutland, and there may be different industries that have, like, our composites manufacturing is important in our region, and our healthcare elements are important in our region. We can broadly construe, I think, for every single region that we live in, each one of us, there's a couple things. There's quarry work, like good quarry work in part of the state, and we need to make sure that people are prepared for that, for those industries. So I really am hopeful that we can gain the benefits of something simplified, because so much of the testimony that we took was about, in our neck of the woods, it's a little different. And it's a little different and I think that we can find a way to have that difference reflected at that local level. I don't know if we need that difference to be all the way through to the upper ends of the administration. I know, so I've gotten a lot of value out of the testimony on this. And I think that with part of that approach might help us simplify a message to students consistently across the state of why this is a good place to spend time, why families should feel good about having their kids be part of the CTE system, and how, if that message is something that we're hearing across the state with some consistency, maybe the dark, bold lines about who's where can matter a little less, and the where we're going can matter a little more. So I'm encouraged by what we've heard.
I guess I'd say for myself, I am not actually a fan of either option on the table. The thing that I am most, the way I'm seeing it is that we need to have a fully unified system. I think that CTE gets so often just put out over there as this sort of like workforce training thing, which obviously we need, but I think it's because of that can be so heavily stigmatized. And as I've said before, and I will continue to say, that the hands-on learning with in classroom academics is just a teaching style. And it's something that could be deployed from hither and yon. We need healthcare workers, you need quarry workers, but we also need actuaries, we need accountants, we need computer programmers, and all of that can be taught using the hands-on learning. I will also completely cop to the fact that it is expensive, but I think that also is expensive depending on subject area too. Advanced manufacturing is certainly going to be way more expensive than training an accountant. And the other thing is that, for as much as we've been hearing about scale, I don't understand how exactly we're going to get to scale with a system that's spread that thin. I'm hoping that if we can kind of help bring things a little bit more together, that would be great. I know that that is kind of compared to what is currently on this table, a little bit of a left field thing, and maybe it's something that comes like 5 years down the road. But I would certainly, especially looking at the modern educational landscape, when I look at our state colleges, universities, and even, I'm seeing a lot of distinction without too much difference in how we are delivering education and training. I don't understand the differences between education and training.
Yeah, I was just thinking, as we've been talking, what's the difference between college and a technical center?
Thank you.
I mean, definition wise,
There's a lot of overlap.
yeah, is there really a difference? Like if you look at what they do and, I mean, as crazy as it sounds, what if we start calling these colleges of technical education?
Yeah, I like the idea that was put forward actually by the CTE directors of the technical high school, as opposed to comprehensive education. I don't know, it's all, but I think that is a forward-looking place where we will put ourselves in the position of really truly training our young people to be well set up.
That's something that we put forward.
Yeah, I mean, I do like the vision of a regional high school that is a comprehensive high school.
That's kind of what they do in Massachusetts, I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's what we heard.
Yep.
Yeah. And also, just to add to that, a lot of like independent schools, private educators, they combine, they have co-ops or internships or, these sorts of programs. I know even some of our public schools also have replicated kind of, I know what Rutland has, Jam Plan. No, they changed it. Where you take a month and go do a hands-on learning. So it's a technique that's already in the system. All right, I'll shut your mouth.
Yeah, I mean, certainly on a meta scale, I mean, my dream for education is that that's not broken into all the little pieces, where it's elementary school, then high school, then tech school, or academic, then college, and then, right, that I mean, if we were really going to rework the whole system, the whole thing would be integrated together, right? And so, but it's not where we are, and that costs a lot of money. So, so where we are, it strikes me, I feel like I do like the single district model in the harmonization. We'll use that word. That's the word of our committee. To harmonize the different school systems, because we have all the different models, and as I pointed out just a couple of days ago, we learned about a couple other schools in there without the models, and so I think we need some common touch point where all that communication and all that information funnels back together in a way that even the people at the Agency of Education know what it is. So I feel like having some kind of a single district for that piece, but I also do feel like if you're going to consolidate in one place, then it makes sense to find better ways to engage the local communities on the other end, to more empower and improve communication of and between all of the different at the more local regional levels. How we exactly do that, it's not completely clear to me, but I feel like I think but what I don't like is the idea of putting something in between the locals and the Agency of Education. Whatever, I feel like another layer of government in there is just going to complicate things. And so, I mean, if it was going to be that, I'd almost rather give more money to AOE and have them just do that job, right? Rather than create something else. So that's sort of where I'm waffling. Yeah.
And, there's certainly more information we need to get. And I don't know where we fit right now in the ed bill. I think the only thing that fits is within their structure and what they're doing for study is.
I know, I'm really confused because, you know, a lot of it's, one real powerful message that I think we heard from the CP directors were, you know, don't go off and do something
Right.
with CTEs until, you know,
Yeah.
and yet, you know, what I've seen of the ed committee, what I've seen of their plan is, you know, they're thinking of the districts as something to do next year kind of thing.
Yeah.
Now, I also, you know, from talking to folks on the Senate Ed Committee, you know, that's not their, that's not their direction. How that's all gonna come, but it puts us in a difficult position because we don't have anything to fit into it.
Well, not too hard because we can't do anything.
Well, on the other hand, you know, if they don't, we could still offer what we think would be best for CTE, even though, and then give it to them and they try to harmonize it with what they think.
Yeah. But yeah, but it's hard to make that recommendation without really understanding the road that they're going down.
I agree.
And so I think at this point, we just think for us, we just keep talking and as we can, we'll continue to bring people in and having those discussions and just trying to work our way through it. Until we really get to a point where they need something from us, then that's the point where we really sit down and.
So you're hearing they don't really need anything from us right now? Got it. Okay, I see that.
So, yeah, Dave, I know you.
Well, I was gonna make a comment with regard to what Kirk was talking about, not setting up another layer between AOE and local. But that layer doesn't necessarily have to be another level of government. It can depend on the size of the local too, where people are not as willing to engage because it's just too big. And so that can be a concern too, but it may be where we end up and I'm okay with that. And yeah, I've had several colleagues approach me and say, now you guys are doing CTE and education is doing it, and, you know, you're on different tracks, aren't you? And I said, yeah, but we're watching those folks on the other track real close. So we're not trying to get ahead of them or do anything lone wolf type stuff.
I have to say, I feel like it would be helpful for me to get somebody from Ed in here to like have a good conversation. 'Cause I'm so confused about like,
Ask Jana.
Yeah, their bill should be coming out today,
okay,
and then it'll be in Ways and Means next week. So we will have time to learn what it is, and Ways and Means will hopefully put money where it makes sense, right? So that we can, because I mean, I know that the governance structures, the many different governance structures that we have across the state came from, we want to do it this way, we want to do it this way, we want to, and it doesn't work for everybody, right? We know that right now. We also know that the biggest, maybe not the biggest, one of the biggest parts of the tension is the funding.
Yeah.
Because money has to get sent away from the school. And so if Ways and Means can set up a structure that the school is full and the tech center is full, the tech high school is full. I'm gonna start using that language. I really like that language. Then we will all be better off because it will be, we're moving closer and closer toward those two equal paths, right? The piece that I keep going back to with the one tech district versus the tech within all of the different school districts is that folks are in tech for up to 2 years. And so they are,
After.
or maybe longer, but part of their high school, it's
Yeah.
up to 2 years.
Yeah.
And so they're leaving a high school
Yeah.
to go to tech either way in Vermont. And is that what we want? Right? So how do we make it more whole and holistic? And if you have it within this district, that the district has a tech school and a high school, and you can, but it's the same school district.
Yeah.
Is that maybe what's better for students without creating so many layers without maybe. But I think the size of the districts are gonna matter. And we keep saying we're gonna wait till 26, but I think the charge coming out of House Ed is gonna be to get districts in the off session, and then decide on what they are so that schools can start forming those new districts in 26. Like, I mean, it'll be longer than that, right? You can't do it just like that, but so like, this is where we are, this is our end goal, this is the amount of time we have to get there, and understanding that.
Yeah, the kids that I see in Burlington, I go to one of the tech centers, they're two totally different experiences. There's the Burlington Tech Center, which is half a day. Most of the kids I've known have done the health program. So they walk 2 blocks to that program in the mornings, and they're there in the mornings. And then they walk over back to the school in the afternoons. And it's a really integrated experience, and they don't feel like they're in a different school. But if they go to the Essex Tech Center, it's a half an hour drive and it's a full day, and it's like they've left.
Yeah.
They're not part of it. They're not part of the culture. And and those are 2 really different experiences. If it was all combined, right, then culturally, like, you can have a much more cohesive experience. And so, for different kids, but yeah, I mean, I think that speaks to like, what is and for a lot of kids, it is, right, if they go to a tech center, they are leaving, they might be driving 45 minutes to go to a specific program.
I had a conversation with my superintendent, and that was actually the point that he was making, was that with CTE, the thing that he has noticed the most is that the integrated programs seem to work the best.
Yeah.
Because they help keep that culture,
Yeah.
and there isn't that massive
The
separation.
kids can't fall through the cracks.
Have a sense of place.
Exactly. And then they don't have, like, if a kid wants to take sports or something, it's like they had to go 3 different places, it's like all that. So, and then, not for nothing, having that level of separation in our system also doesn't help with our climate goals. It's a lot
Sure.
of transportation costs.
There's something you said too, for the amount of time that
Yes,
you're spending moving around. It's like, what's the value of your time
yes,
if you're in Danby and for some reason you go to Southwest Tech in Bennington for 2 hours, then you go back to finish your school day, and it feels
Yeah.
wasting people's time.
Can I just follow up on something I was saying, that sometimes it just strikes me how different each sort of tech ed is done, depending on, how they're affiliated with the high school or not, and what the footprint is too. Yours is able to have a footprint. My CT, you say that's really important. And she thinks that everybody can fit in because there's a lot of capacity, down in that neck of the woods.
Like, right, that could be an actual regional.
It could be, but that might not be the case with other areas. So
No.
I'm not sure how to reconcile those kinds of issues with what we're talking about, just governance. I'm not sure how that works.
Okay, I'm gonna, Dee Dee and I have a meeting with the speakers, so I think we just keep thinking, talking. I think maybe once a week we could just sit down and keep talking about it. Maybe the last thing on Fridays, just utilize half an hour
Great.
and just keep the conversation going and
Great.
keep talking to your districts and better understand how they function. And I think we know how everything is functioning. It will make it easier for us to come up with something that will work, I hope.
Yeah.
But with that, everybody have a good weekend. Again, thank you for your work this week, and the last couple of weeks have been pretty tough, and I appreciate that. No, I won't bank this time. I'll give it.
Do we have that recorded?